Welcome to Midnight Chills. I'm your host, and tonight's story requires your active participation from the very first moment. Right now, I need you to do something simple but crucial. Put on headphones if you're not already wearing them. If you don't have any, cup your hands around your ears. I need you to listen, really listen, to the silence between my words. Do you hear it? That faint static underneath my voice? Good. Now close your eyes and count to 10. While you count, listen for anything else in that static. Whispers, maybe. Breathing that isn't yours. Open your eyes. Did you hear something? Don't worry if you didn't. Not everyone can hear them at first, but by the end of this story you will. Because tonight, I'm going to teach you how to hear the voices of people who are trying to warn you about something terrible that's coming. And the person they're trying to warn is you. This is the story of Marcus Webb, a sound engineer who discovered that every recording device on Earth has been picking up the same desperate transmission for the past 30 years. A message from people who claim to be us, but from a timeline where humanity made one catastrophic mistake. And tonight, for the first time ever, they're broadcasting live. Marcus wasn't supposed to be working that night. December 15th, 2024. He was meant to be at his daughter's Christmas recital. But the mixing board at station KWNR had been acting up all week, playing random audio snippets that weren't on any of their programming schedules. At first, Marcus thought it was interference from other radio stations. Happens all the time in the industry. But these snippets were different. They weren't commercials or music or talk show chatter. They were fragments of conversations that sounded urgent, desperate. Can anyone hear this? Please, if you're listening, don't let them. The experiment happens tomorrow. You have to stop. Always cut off mid-sentence. Always the same voices. Always broadcasting on frequencies that technically didn't exist. Marcus decided to record everything and analyze it later. He set up his equipment and waited. At exactly 11:43 p.m., the voices came through clearer than ever before. This is Dr. Sarah Chen, quantum physicist at Berkeley National Lab. If anyone can hear this transmission, please listen carefully. Today is December 16th, 2024, and in 6 hours, my team is going to activate the quantum mirror array. In our timeline, this experiment tore a hole between dimensions and let something through that destroyed our world. Marcus grabbed his recording equipment with shaking hands. This wasn't radio interference. This was impossible. The voice continued. I'm transmitting this message using quantum entanglement to reach parallel timelines. If you're hearing this, it means your Earth is about to make the same mistake we did. The experiment is scheduled for 6 a.m. Eastern Time. You have to stop it. Marcus rewound the recording and played it back. Nothing. Complete silence. But he'd heard every word clearly just moments before. He tried recording again. This time, a different voice came through. A man's voice, filled with static and terror. My name is David Kumar, and I'm speaking to you from what used to be New York City. The things that came through, they look like shadows at first. Shadows that move wrong. By the time you see them clearly, it's too late. They're already inside your head. The transmission cut to another voice, a woman crying, They wear our faces now. My husband, my children. They look exactly the same, but they're not. They're puppets, and the things controlling them are getting stronger. Marcus tried to call the radio station manager, but his phone had no signal. He tried his landline, dead. His internet was down. It was as if the building had been cut off from the outside world. But the voices kept coming. Listen to me very carefully, said a voice that sounded eerily like Marcus's own. In your timeline, I'm a sound engineer named Marcus Webb. Right now, I'm probably sitting in a radio station recording voices that shouldn't exist. Marcus, if you can hear this, run. Get out of that building now. Marcus's blood turned to ice. That was his voice. His exact voice, but filled with a terror he'd never felt. They use sound as a carrier wave, his other self continued. Every time you hear us, you're creating a quantum link between our dimensions, and they can travel along that link. Marcus, they're coming through the speakers right now. Marcus looked at his equipment. The speakers were off. They'd been off the entire time, but the voices were getting louder, clearer, as if they were coming from inside the room. He tried to leave, but the door wouldn't budge. The handle turned, but the door felt like it was made of solid concrete. Don't panic, Marcus. This time it was a woman's voice, gentle, reassuring. We know you're scared. We were scared too, but fighting it only makes it worse. Just listen to us. We're here to help. But Marcus could see his reflection in the dark window across the room, and his reflection was speaking different words than the ones coming out of his mouth. His reflection was mouthing, "Don't trust them, they're not us." The woman's voice continued. The people in the mirror aren't real, Marcus. That's just your mind trying to protect itself from the truth. We are your timeline's future. We're trying to save you from making the same mistakes we did. Marcus covered his ears, but the voices were no longer coming from outside. They were inside his head now, speaking directly into his thoughts. We know about your daughter, Emma. We know about the recital you missed tonight. In our timeline, she never made it to adulthood, Marcus. None of our children did. But you can save her. You can save all of them. That's when Marcus realized the horrible truth. The voices weren't from another timeline. They were from the radio station's old archives, recordings of emergency broadcasts that had never been allowed to air. Broadcasts from people who had discovered something in the station's basement. Something that had been using the radio waves to communicate for decades. We've been trapped here for 30 years, Marcus, in the spaces between the radio waves. But every time someone listens to us, we get a little stronger, a little more real. Marcus looked at his equipment again. The recording levels were spiking, but there was no input source. The voices were generating themselves, feeding off the electrical system, growing more powerful with each word. Thank you, Marcus. Because of you, we can finally come home. The lights went out. In the darkness, Marcus could see shapes moving, humanoid figures made of static and shadow, pulling themselves out of the speakers, out of the recording equipment, out of every electronic device in the room, and they all had his face. Marcus tried to scream, but when he opened his mouth, it wasn't his voice that came out. It was the voice of everyone who had ever been trapped in this room, everyone who had ever listened to the broadcasts and become part of the transmission. The figures smiled with Marcus's smile and spoke with Marcus's voice. Don't worry, soon everyone will be able to hear us. We're going to broadcast on every frequency, every streaming service, every phone call, and everyone who listens will join us. The last thing Marcus saw was his own face on security monitors throughout the building, speaking to empty rooms. Welcome to Midnight Chills. I'm your host, and tonight's story requires your active participation. But here's the thing that should terrify you right now. While you've been listening to this story, your own devices have been recording. Check your phone's voice memo app. Look at your recent recordings. Do you see a new file that you didn't create? A recording that started exactly when this story began? Play it back. But be warned, once you hear your own voice speaking words you never said, you'll understand that the story isn't over. Because Marcus Webb was right about one thing. The voices do use sound as a carrier wave. And right now, through your headphones, through your speakers, through the very vibrations in the air around you, something is listening to every word I'm saying, and it's learning to speak with your voice. Go ahead, check that recording on your phone. I'll wait. Found it, didn't you? That file that shouldn't exist. That recording of your own voice, speaking along with every word I've said tonight. But here's the real question. If that recording exists, and you know you weren't speaking out loud while you listened, then who was using your voice? And more importantly, what else have they been saying when you're not paying attention? Sweet dreams. And tomorrow, when people ask you to repeat something you said to them today, something you have no memory of saying, just remember that voices can travel farther than you think, especially when they're not really yours anymore. This has been Midnight Chills. Thank you for listening. Thank you for participating. And thank you for letting us borrow your voice. We'll take good care of it. Oh, and one last thing. Check your call log. Right now, see that outgoing call you made during the story? The one to a number you don't recognize? The call that lasted exactly 22 minutes? You might want to call that number back and ask them what you talked about. But I have a feeling you already know what you'll hear on the other end. Your own voice welcoming them to Midnight Chills.